Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Perfect World based on novel. So let's start. Stone Emperor has left this world. When news was transmitted to the outside world, every region was shaken. Even though they had long anticipated this result, when it was truly proved, it still stirred up tremendous waves. The entire world was shocked. The little stone still fell in the end. No miracles happened. His life had grown dim, eventually being cut off. He had reached the end of the road. What a pity. Truly lamentable. Shahao's death was truly unfortunate. He was so young, yet he already reached the pinnacle of the wasteland region. If he was given time, no one knew just how high he would have soared. Stone Country arranged an empty coffin, allowing everyone to come and attend the memorial service. Great sects from all different places moved out to express their good wishes. It was unknown just how many people came. Stone Emperor, a true hero, he was still so young, yet he fought against deities a few sect masters' side. Fire Emperor has arrived. A loud voice called out. Wood Emperor has arrived. Another person reported. This left everyone shocked. The emperor of a country normally wouldn't easily set foot in the country of another. However, these types of figures appeared in today's funeral, and more than just one. Later on, everyone discovered that the masters of major powers in the 8 regions arrived as well. Green Flood Dragon Supreme Expert has arrived. Ocean Races Silver Emperor has graced us with your presence. Green Vine Supreme Expert has arrived. Everyone felt fearful, shivering inwardly. Even though several great calamities had happened, there were still so many experts who managed to escape. Over 10 supreme experts actually appeared today from every great region. Little friend was so stunning, yet he left us so early. It really makes one sigh helplessly. What a pity. I wanted to see just how far he could reach. Another supreme expert arrived in Stone Capital. Xiao Tian, Nine-Headed Lion, Xiao Yuyu and the others were astonished. They recognized who it was. This was Western Tomb Meteor Montaigne's elder, a former deity, who called himself Southern Meteor. Today, he had fallen out of the deity realm. Immortal Mountains, Qin how he successfully transplanted the Supreme Being bone. Bai Jiyu was shocked. Correct, and extremely successfully at that without any complications. His vitality is abundant right now, and his body is terrifyingly powerful. Hong Huang replied with absolute certainty. Too shocking. This should already be 3-month-old information, right? Only now did it leak out. Shui Yu said softly, a single person with 2 unrivaled precious bones, is he trying to defy the heavens? Xian Ming cried out in alarm, finding this a bit hard to believe. He could unexpectedly have 2 pieces of true bone, just how powerful would he become? Let's go. News of Qin how successfully inheriting the bone circulated on a small scale, startling everyone. Many people were shocked and fearful. Just how powerful of a figure would he become? He was truly going to defy the heavens in the future. The noble ladies and geniuses of the higher realms paid Immortal Mountain a visit. Both sides exchanged joyous chatter. They indirectly verified this information, creating quite a commotion. Our imperial palace has become cold and cheerless. Those people had come to rope in Stone Emperor before too. The Ming King said softly. Ever since Shahao died, those noble ladies and geniuses only came once. They never appeared here again. This is but normal. His Majesty has already fallen, so Qin Hao will definitely rise to greatness. With 2 supreme being bones, he can overlook an area even in the higher realms. He is worth roping in. Peng Nine sighed and said. Stone Village. The villagers naturally had lives to live. Only, when they thought of Shahao, they would always feel especially sad. More than 3 months had already passed. The parts around Shahao's tomb had already grown tall. Several days ago, the villagers had burned many papers there, because 100 days had just passed. This hill seems to have a bit more spiritual essence. Could it be because little Hao is buried here? Shalin Hu was a bit surprised. I truly wish for this child to continue living, Shafeijiao sighed, feeling deeply emotional. During this period of time, villagers would come here from time to time. In the end, they all shook their heads before descending the hill. Little how much I wish you would come alive again. Da Zhuang, Erming and the others came. They brought a bottle of wine and sat down here, drinking a glass. Then, they poured down a cup onto the grave. They were a few years older than Shahao, but Shahao's constitution was strong even when they were little. At first, he still chased after their butts, but later on, he passed all of them. It really isn't fair. Little Hao is lying here alone by himself, while that fellow is being called a world-shaking genius. Everyone is saying how he is unmatched under heaven. That was originally Little Hao's title, said Pihu. Even though they grew up in Stone Village, they knew a few things about the outside world as well. It was because they always came to and from Stone Country Imperial Palace, so the information traveled freely. Because Qingfeng inherited the position of Stone Country Emperor, he always traveled back and forth between these two places. What do you guys think? Is there really reviving grass in this world? How great would it be if we found one? I really want Little Hao to live, Da Zhuang spoke in a downcast manner. Later on, you finally survived. We lived together, depending on each other. It truly was a time full of joy, he sighed softly. Tears flowed down from his old eyes. He could vaguely see those large blinking eyes, the little fellow who tottered about as he walked around, pulling on the big red dog's tail while releasing tender shouts. Village chief, let's go eat. Don't feel bad anymore. The villagers tried to advise him. Everyone was feeling extremely terrible. I have no appetite. The old man lowered his head, using his hand to caress a small pot. This was something that the little guy used every day back then, sneakily cooking beast milk in it to drink, to prevent others from finding out. Of course, how could everyone not know? The beast milk was all brought over by the uncles. Grandpa Chief, what is outside those great mountains? I want to see for myself and leave the great wastelands. When he grew a bit older, Shahao already began to yearn for the outside world, wishing to explore it. These words still seemed to ring by his ears. Shi Yunfeng self-blamingly shook his head. I shouldn't have agreed. We should have just lived here, never leaving this place. How great would that be? Something like this wouldn't have happened. In the outside world, the Qin clan was currently discussing an immortal mountain. They wanted Qin Hao to quickly ascend, because the heavenly path was going to be cut off soon. He would then forever lose the chance to do so. I won't go up. Qin Yining shook her head. She felt extremely pained. She was going to stay in Stone Village, not wishing to leave the lower realm. When Shi Xiling heard this, his eyes released divine radiance. I am going up. For the sake of revenge, he had to enter the higher realms. Even if he was filled with reluctance and regret, he still had to leave. All right, you go up. I'll stay behind in Stone Village. Qin Yining released a light sigh. Mother, come together with us. Older brother also wished for you to be happy. He doesn't want you to be broken-hearted, Qin Hao advised. Qin Yining shook her head. She was overwhelmed by sorrow. Finally, Shi Xiling returned to Stone Village. He stood in front of that grave for an entire night. Then, he resolutely left. On his back was his own golden spear. He was going to the higher realms. Shi Xiling and Qin Hao left. They followed a mysterious heavenly road and disappeared from this realm. Soon after, those noble ladies and geniuses from the higher realms also left one after another, permanently returning to the higher realms. They also brought more detailed and reliable information with them. This left their elders surprised, discussing with them. Dual pupils is known as an unmatched existence even in my higher realms. Recently, an 18 or 19-year-old expert has also appeared in my higher realms, sweeping through all his peers in Heavenfall Province, known as unmatched in his generation. In the end, he entered Heavenfall Academy and fought a decisive battle against their exceptional talent. He seemed to have won and also joined Heavenfall Academy. Time passed quickly. More than half a year had already passed since Shahao passed away. During this period of time, regardless of whether it was Western Sect, Immortal Mountain, or the others, contacting the higher realms became more and more difficult. Along with the passage of time, it became harder and harder to communicate between the two realms. It was almost as if the connection had been cut off. The Qin clan urged several times for Stone Country to contact and tell Qin Yining to go up. Otherwise, they would miss the chance and be forever separated. Why is there more grass the more we cut here? Erming said. Another few months passed. Shahao had departed almost a year ago. Immortal Mountain sent someone to tell Qin Yining to return. This time, it was related to Shiziling and their second son. Qin Yining was going to go. While carrying sadness, she stood in front of this grave and said her goodbyes. She cried for an entire night. The Qin clan sent a message that Shiziling was wounded in the higher realms, moreover extremely seriously. In addition, there were problems with Qin Hao as well, so they needed her to go up. Xiling has been wounded. If Hao here finds out, he will definitely not be at peace. You should go. The old chief Shi Yunfeng comforted. I will send down true information about his father down to help Hao rest in peace. Qin Yining said while crying. She was extremely emotional. The lower realm had brought her too many regrets. That day, she departed through one of Immortal Mountain's old roads into the higher realms. Several days later, Immortal Mountain paid a huge price to satisfy her wish and communicate with the lower realm, sending down a message. This time, the lower realm Immortal Mountain didn't hide the information. Dazhuang said in front of Shahao's grave. Qin Hao has demonstrated extraordinary skill in the higher realms. News of him having two supreme being bones wasn't hidden. Many people found out, and as a result, a world-shocking battle broke out. This was what Erming said. All of this information came from Immortal Mountain. Qin Hao's name resounded through a region. Many old inheritances in the southern areas learned of this, and a few great sects took action, wishing to be connected through marriage with Immortal Mountain, offering their sects heavenly ladies. It was rumored that Qin Hao was cultivating bitterly in hopes of quickly rising up to power. What a pity, little Hao, you were originally going to enter the higher realms and demonstrate your brilliance, yet now Pihu and the others felt disappointed. In the blink of an eye, a year passed. The villagers all felt as if something wasn't right. This hill's spiritual essence was just too abundant and rich, becoming many times greater than in the past. Little Uncle Hao, we came to see you again. A group of children ascended the hill. They frequently took care of this grave, but the grass grew just too quickly. There was just too much to pull. That was one of Shahao's embarrassing moments, something he wasn't willing to bring up the most. Even when he grew up and reached the formation arrangement realm, he was still left with remaining grievance. He wanted to catch this strange five-colored sparrow, but he never had the chance. This bird was incredibly lowly, always running away ahead of time. The five-colored sparrow cried out. After combing its beautiful feathers in a manner that wasn't too fast or too slow, it arrogantly left. With a flap of its wings, it left behind five-colored light, before flying towards the old date tree behind Stone Village. That was where its nest was. Too hateful. Whenever we pull out the grass, it plants more. The group of children was so angry, they cried out with WA sounds. They rushed down the mountain, ran towards the village to catch this bird. In the end, they startled many adults. What happened? When the adults in Stone Village learned about this, they all felt rather strange. Then, everyone went to search for the five-colored sparrow together. However, it was extremely slippery and was nowhere to be found. What five-colored sparrow? I never saw such a thing before. It seems a bit strange, Hairy Ball said. Its injuries had pretty much been healed. This what happened? The old chief was moved the most. He was a cultivator as well, so he could feel that a wave of life force was reviving in the grave. During these months, this grass grew extremely vigorously. Now, all of their roots shone like the tassels of a dragon. They even seemed to be moving. This grass was extremely special. The roots were especially thick. They were definitely not ordinary grass. Today, they became even more unordinary, releasing glowing radiance. Let me take a look, Hairy Ball said. His eyes released divine light. He stared here, and then he looked into the depths of the earth. Soon after, it was shocked. Hairy Ball sensed a wave of strange fluctuations. All of you, do not act rashly. It seriously warned. Then, it brought out the bronze precious case that Xiahou previously held. After opening it, that jewel pupil appeared. That is, it was deeply shaken. It used the jewel pupil to look inside. Below the ground was a layer of light that released a strand of vitality. It was precisely that coffin, reincarnation without experiencing life and death. How can one understand reincarnation? Could it be because of this reasoning? Little Red also came. It was extremely shocked as well. I am only speculating too, said Little Red. It was about to recover as well. Its wings had regrown, and its entire body was replete with brilliant red radiance, as if it was carved out of red gemstones. It was only the size of a fist, but it was incredibly beautiful. The grave was shining from within. It was extremely auspicious and peaceful, producing a special wave of energy. You should come and take a look. Hairy Ball indicated for it to come over. Yi, what kind of grass is this? Little Red was shocked. Apart from feeling a wave of reincarnation power, it never expected to see a world underneath the ground that was especially mysterious. The roots of this grass were like dragon tassels. They were extremely long, extending all the way into the ground and wrapping themselves around the coffin and releasing sparkling radiance. The roots were pure white like jade. They wrapped themselves around the wooden coffin like ropes, binding it up layer after layer like a cocoon. They released a layer of light and produced mysterious fluctuations. Do not reach out your divine senses. Little Red warned. It was because it noticed that some of the villagers couldn't hold themselves back any longer, using their divine wills to search underground. If they only relied on their own cultivations, it would most likely end in failure. Hairy Ball released a grunt. It was as if thunder struck down on everyone's ears, making his body tremble. His eyes restored their radiance, revealing a wave of horror. I think I was in a reincarnation. In the blink of an eye, I could see hundreds to thousands worlds back there. It was all very blurry, very terrifying. I forgot about it all. Erming seemed like he had woken up from a dream. Finally, he became clear-headed, grabbing his head while his body trembled lightly. Only then did he fully break free. Most of the villagers understood cultivation, and quite a few individuals' current cultivations weren't weak. However, no one rushed forward. They carefully observed the situation. A wave of excitement stirred within their minds. Child, I knew that you wouldn't leave. You wouldn't be willing to leave us behind. You are definitely still here. The old village chief was shaking, tears continuously flying out from his old eyes. Little Hao, are you still here? Hurry up and wake up. Dazhuang emotionally shouted, his eyes turning red. No one was willing to accept the fact that Xiahou had already been dead for an entire year. The mound shone. The energy fluctuations that were released from inside became more and more powerful. Hairy Ball and Little Red had everyone back up, telling them not to get too close. Not even the jewel pupil could completely see through this. It is definitely not ordinary. Little Red sighed in amazement. The hundreds to thousands stalks of silver grass were thick and long. They wrapped themselves around the coffin, swirling about like stellar streams. This grass is a bit similar to the revival grass recorded in the bone texts, but it's different. Little Red observed this strange grass. On the ground, the grass leaves were emerald green, but they didn't release any rich fragrance or brilliant radiance, not appearing that special at all. Only the roots that wrapped around the coffin were unordinary, shining brightly at this moment. Hairy Ball plucked a leaf and placed it into its mouth. He slowly chewed it, carefully sampling it. He was incredibly shocked. It makes one feel absent-minded, as if they are going to fall into reincarnation. Rumors had it that it was brought into the higher realms. It could exchange the flesh and bones of the dead into those of the living, possessing unimaginable mysterious powers. Once this grass matured, blue and green multicolored light would overflow into the heavens like a great wave. This would all come from a single stalk of grass. One could imagine just how strange and powerful it was. Apart from this, there was another type of grass that was named reincarnation. When one sucked on it, they would enter a state of reincarnation. It was the strangest and most mysterious type of phenomenon. This type of grass only grew in the underworld. They had only appeared several incidences since the ancient times. If one had it, they would gain endless experiences. This isn't reincarnation grass, or revival grass. The medicinal efficacy is far from being comparable to them. However, these possess a few of their characteristics. This was the conclusion Hairy Ball and Little Red came to. The villagers were all extremely shocked, but they simultaneously began to feel happy. They saw hope. This grass was so special. So could it be that it was slowly changing the situation inside the tomb? I remember. This shouldn't be undecaying grass, right? Hairy Ball was shocked. It might very well be that grass. Little Red nodded, also revealing its shock. Rumors had it that there were two unrivaled experts, who had joined together to breed a type of undying grass. It was known to be undying, and its name was astonishing. It signified that when one ate it, they would possess immortality. Of course, this was only a legend from the higher realms. In addition, Hairy Ball and Little Red's ancestors were both extremely great, or else they definitely wouldn't have learned about this at all. They had spoken to their descendants about it before, so the descendants' offspring gained some understanding towards this as well. One of the experts obtained revival grass, and then another unmatched giant obtained reincarnation grass. The two relied on these two grass to breed undying grass, but in the end, it resulted in failure. Undying grass was too heavenly defying and rarely seen in this world. In the end, they produced a type of grass that contained characteristics of both revival and reincarnation grass. It was then named undecaying grass. Look, the soil here is a bit special too, separating into black and white colors. I wouldn't have noticed if I didn't look carefully. Hairy Ball squatted on the ground and carefully looked at the soil. No wonder it must have been that 5-colored sparrow that brought over this soil. Little Red nodded. Could it be that it knows a place similar to a true dragon, or divine phoenix nest? Hairy Ball became a bit stirred up. Undecaying grass definitely couldn't grow in any normal place. It even brought over soil that could grow undecaying grass. This 5-colored sparrow definitely knew an incredible place. That 5-colored sparrow could actually find this type of grass. It is definitely extraordinary. Little Red said. A year had already passed, yet there was still this type of news. It was just inconceivable, little uncle how really can survive. The children all became excited, especially those little fellows that found the 5-colored sparrow planting those grass seeds. They were running and jumping around, feeling extremely happy, as if they did something great. There were reincarnation symbols before in Shahao's body, and now, this type of energy was rippling outwards. It naturally filled everyone with hope and incomparable happiness. It was because this was an omen of revival. This has to be a secret. It cannot be spread into the outside world. Shifeijiao said, fearing that an accident might happen partway. I am going to personally protect this place. Quite a few of the wrinkles on village chief Shi Yunfeng's face seemed to have faded away instantly. He wiped away his old tears and roared with laughter. His previously downcast mood was immediately wiped away. This seemed to have an effect on the others as well. From this day forth, Stone Village cut off all connection with the outside world, sealing up that ancestral altar. No one could come in or out of the village, including Stone Country. Sure enough, this 5-colored sparrow appeared a few more times. It acted extremely arrogantly, stopping on top of the burial mound as if it sensed something before flying away. Many thanks to the divine bird. The villagers all went on their knees. It was already quite evident that this 5-colored sparrow saved Shahao. 2 months passed in an instant. Stone Village no longer communicated with the outside world. Everyone was paying close attention and protecting the hill. They felt more and more nervous. Yi, the grave split open. Erming cried out loudly. The cocoon underground has broken apart. His breathing became rushed. The roots of the silvery white and sparkling undecaying grass were thick and long as they wrapped themselves around the coffin. They were releasing a gentle and soft light. Right now, quite a few of them snapped, revealing the coffin within. Shi Yunfeng carefully looked inside. He discovered that the coffin had also cracked, and a body could already be seen inside too. Shifeijiao and the others were greatly moved. They activated the dual pupil together, making everything more clear so they could see the scene inside the coffin. Dense mist rose in that place. All types of multicolored light pervaded the air. Shahao was lying inside, his complexion rosy and full of life. There are symbols flickering about on his body. Pihu cried out in alarm. On Shahao's body, there were a few mysterious symbols that would flow out from time to time. In addition, various parts of this body shone resplendently with divine radiance. Aya, his arms are turning a golden color. Yi, something's not right. Why is his palm turning a purple color? Everyone became extremely nervous, but also stirred up. They were all hoping for a miracle to happen. Ah! He is breathing, little Hao is alive. I saw a stream of white energy flow out from his mouth and nose. The villagers were all pleasantly surprised. Quite a few people cried out loudly. This place immediately erupted into a great uproar. Shahao's flesh didn't decay. His complexion was rosy, not like how deathly pale it was before, without any color at all. His current self had radiated an extremely powerful wave of vitality. Half of his body turned a golden color, and then it turned into a pitch black color. Then, a moment later, it then turned into a purple color. It was continuously changing. What was going on here? I felt a flourishing wave of energy, a surging of divine force. Is this a type of transformation? Dazhuang asked. Right now, everyone was waiting with expectations. They truly wished the person inside that coffin would immediately wake up. Hairy Ball and Little Red were startled. They immediately rushed over and carefully observed the situation. They were startled as well. They were certain that Shahao's body was full of life force, and that he was about to resurrect. This was a miracle. After remaining dormant for a year, he still had a chance to survive. Undecaying grass maintained his body's state, leaving it in an undecaying state, and not letting his condition worsen. Of course, if one truly wanted to live, they would still have to rely on themselves. Perhaps the five-colored sparrow had done something, but his experience in his life and death reincarnation, as well as his will to live, were definitely extremely important during the critical moment. This episode Part 1